What is up, YouTube? I finally got the gaskets I need for this Evo Sportster motor, so we are going to start slapping this together. Hopefully everything goes as planned. Okay, so we have brand new gasket set. I don't know, it was one of the cheaper ones on V-Twin, Athena. We've used their gaskets before on other stuff, not Harley's, ever, actually. So we'll see how this goes, but all we got to do is put these heads back on. Shouldn't be too bad. Brand new gasket set, it's a full kit. All I need are the head gaskets out of it and the shifter seal. They're blue instead of the fiber ones that we had before. We got two gaskets, these go on here. Just like so. One there, one here. That is all it takes in a Harley for a head gasket. So those are sitting there, and then we just grab the heads and slap these back on first. Guess I'll be on camera today since I'm doing this side. Here's the rear. Grab a couple threads on here and then just let it rest. Then the front. There's dowel pins on both sides of the head, so it makes it super easy on an install. In comparison to, I don't know, any of the early stuff. Iron heads, the bolts are on top. You can't get to them, it's a huge pain. If they're in the frame. If they're out of the frame, it doesn't make a difference at all. It's super simple. But when they're in the frame, there's no room for everything. They still run the 12 points. Look at the other, I got a Sportster video, 81 sporty video where I torque down the heads, show you how to get to those. But that is our heads roughly bolted on. That is all we're going to have to do. On Evos, you don't have to fight trying to shim the intake and make all of those things line up. They updated their design to make it a little bit more user-friendly, which is great. Push rods are going to drop in, but first thing we got to do is torque the heads down. So let's get set up and we'll do that. Look at that overhead view. This hammer so it sits level. Alright. Before you guys freak out, this is not a full torque. It will get me about halfway there. I'm going to grab a torque wrench. Then we'll do the final torque on this. And now we're on to the sandwich plates and the rocker boxes. What do we have? We got a gasket first. That'll go on there. Turn the motor back around because all my stuff for the front was back here. So I need the motor stuff. And I need the push rods. Which, unfortunately, I might have to move you guys real quick because I think those are under... Nope, I got them here. And in the earlier video, I labeled these, so I got front intake. It's going to drop down through here. And I do have the adjustable collars, so I don't have to make sure, I don't have to go through and seat all of these. Just slap them together. And we got the exhaust. Push rod cup through. On Evos, the push rods need to go in before you put the sandwich plates on. Otherwise, you'll find yourself having to rip apart the whole top half of the motor again, and that's never a good time. So make sure those go in first. Heads are torqued. Then we got the sandwich plates. You got a rubber gasket on top. You got a flat face gasket on the bottom. These go on here next. You need to make sure the gasket holes line up where they need to. The other thing you need to make sure on Evos, the rocker orientation. Right now, if I tried putting this together, it doesn't work. They're not clearing the valves, so the rocker's below the valve here, below the valve here. That's not going to help you. Rotate that back, kick it over. Same thing on the front, kick it over. This is going to ride on the valve. This side's going to ride on the top of the push rod. Make sure those are seated in the cups. Put you guys back up top. Hopefully you guys can see this. Then we got the gasket, or the bolts. So on the Evos, again, not being adjustable. You cannot put the push rods in or adjust them after on most Evo setups. I believe they do sell adjustable push rods that lets you do that, which I would recommend. I don't own an Evo, so I don't actually know if that's necessary, but that's something I would want if it were mine. So we're going to snug these down. I'm not going to torque them like crazy. I'm just going to put a little bit of tension on these and walk these down evenly. Essentially, on an Evo, it's significantly different because they're hydraulic lifters and they are fixed. They're not adjustable like the early ones. So when you tighten these down, each one of these that I tighten is going to start compressing the push rod into the lifter. It's kind of the set it and forget it philosophy. All the new cars are pretty much exactly the same way, where those aren't changeable or adjustable. It's less maintenance, but it's also less adjustable. So there's that. The only ones I didn't snug down are these two Allens on the outside. I think that's 3/16. Yep. I'm gonna torque these down. Just snugging everything up right now, and then I will go grab a torque wrench and retorque these in sequence real quick. Get the front one on first. Rear intake. Rear exhaust. The gasket did stay connected to this one when I took it off. No, that's a lie. It's right in front of my face. Talk you guys through the first one. The rear is pretty much the same. You're going to keep torquing them kind of in sequence and then do a final torque. Got ahead of myself and put the torque wrench away, so these ones are also not crazy tight, so just enough. Snug them down. And grab the torque wrench. Okay, so on the torque spec, since there are 3 different types of hardware on here, 10 to 13 on the 7/16, 10 to 13 foot-pounds, 15 to 18 on your 5/16 bolts. So we're going to start with the small ones. We're going to go 13 here. Start at the inside and work your way out. Okay, everything's torqued down on the heads. Last part's just putting the rest of the sandwich plates together. So this is the rear. You got a rubber machined gasket or stamped gasket. I don't know what it's made out of. Science. That goes on the middle. You also have another rubber one in the center. One goes on the bottom of the sandwich plate that kind of floats. You got one floating plate on these. Well, I don't know if that was recording or not. I just looked up and the camera turned off. So if it wasn't, you got 2 Allen bolts that go through the front head, and you got 2 1/2-inch nuts that go on the stud that comes out of the front and back head. The rear ones are a fine thread when you go to do this yourself, or if the studs are messed up, or you need the bolts for it, or the nuts for it. They are fine thread. So what is that, 5/16 by 20, 24 or something? Not a lot of room to snug this up like crazy, but you shouldn't have to. On the later models, this one, as far as I'm aware, yeah, this is a bottom breather. It doesn't have the vents up at the top of the heads like the new ones do. And that's our intake. Hopefully that's the intake we're going to use. I'm not going crazy on these yet because there is a good chance that we might be switching out this intake completely. We just haven't decided what we're doing for carburetor yet. Then I'm going to bolt down this front rocker cover. That'll do the front. The front is done. Like I said, I'm gonna leave the intake alone for now. I'm not going too crazy on that one. And I left the front rocker because I'm assuming that once this is in the frame, the front rocker is going to be easier to get off than the back. So if I do need to put that umbrella valve in here, I can do that tomorrow. Hopefully I can grab the parts and just get one more umbrella valve if I need to. I got to research that a little bit. Again, Evos are not my forte. If anybody knows, please leave a comment below and fill me in, because I would like to know, and I don't have a service manual for that. Intake wise, we're either running this or we're running a Mikuni. I also have access to a iron head, shovel head style 2-bolt to open up the possibility to all of the carbs underneath that Menards bag. I got about 10 over there stockpiled and saving them for some build one day. A couple weird oddball ones, but I'd like to run one. All we got left now are push rod covers and this front that I can't do anything with. So bring you guys down over here. Push rod cover install. This applies to all adjustable / removable push rod cover Harleys. So panhead, shovel head, any of the adjustable ones that don't have pipe fittings on them like all the early ones do. Pretty basic. They're under spring tension. I didn't take all of these apart and break them down to explain it, but push rod inner tube goes up into the gasket. Make sure those seat first, like so. And what I like to do, take this front one, push it in, push it up so there's tension on the upper cup. Take a screwdriver, put it behind the push rod here, and use the actual push rod clip as your tensioner instead of prying on the fins. Kind of a quick little trick. I know most people come in here and pry down on this or sit here going on the bottom side like this. Doesn't give you the same type of pressure. And again, this one's silver, so it doesn't really make as big of a difference. But if it's powder coated or ceramic coated or painted any color, could change things a little bit. You don't want to be nicking somebody else's stuff or your own if you just painted them. So if I use the covers, it's chrome on chrome. The chrome finish on these before they rust is typically pretty strong and resilient. Put your push rod up. Cap goes in, make sure they seat proper. And just walk them in. And that's the push rods. Catch you guys later.